This is my shit. We recording. Intro music. Do you remember this song?
I do. I cannot figure out who it is.
It's like techno. It's Crystal Waters.
Okay.
Here. It's already recorded. I'm going to just... All right, that's enough. What is happening? That's Gypsy Woman. Anyway, all right, we're recording. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of Interviews You Didn't Ask For, where everyone we interview are people that I know. So there's only one rule, as I mentioned earlier. I can't edit shit. This is my work computer. I don't have no equipment. So it is what it is. Whatever we say is what we say. I don't forgot to change names, but I think last time it didn't even show up. Don't fucking matter. I'm the host, Kitty Smith. If my name is showing, then you know what my real name is. But again, yes, it's with a Z. And you know, I'm not picky. I respond to anything. The only thing that irks me, and this is like, I've responded to names that are not my name. Like, I've had people call me Crystal and shit. Whatever. But I've been on a call recently with this external company and this man, and it's only white men who do this. Not makes my name excessively ethnic, so he calls me Jasmine. And I've never understood it, and it's such an emphasis on the mean. Like the last time I got off the phone, because he said it so often, I had to have John say my actual name a few times to reset my life. Because it's Jasmine, it's not Jasmine. But today I'm Kitty Smith. So this is my good friend Brandon, who I have known since like, what was that, like 2008?
That sounds about right, at least 2009.
Okay. So we've known each other about 10 years. I met you, what was that?
We're old. Or I'm old.
We're old. Yeah, I'm not. I'm a spring chicken. I was one about 4 times. But know you about 10 years, met you in Columbus. That's where you're at now, right? Ohio. That one time I lived in Ohio. And so we're just going to get right to it because I don't know how to transition to anything. I'm terrible. So why don't you just tell us about yourself and we'll just go from there. Tell us about who you are, Brandon.
My name is Brandon. I am 430 pounds, 6'1.5". I'm an Aries. Huh?
I said that's very specific information.
Yeah, I don't know what all people want to know about me, so I'm filter out whatever you like. I'm African American, in case you can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
I wear glasses. I am married for a year and a half now. Almost 2. Yeah. We like anniversary family. Like, we like anniversary cousins. I remember that.
Yeah. Hold on, because I'm going to switch because this audio not working. I don't like it, so I'm going to switch back to the computer audio.
I can't hear you at all. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I had to unmute myself.
Okay. Sound better?
Yes, my computer sounds better because the phone was not working out. Yeah, our anniversaries are right next to each other. Last time I saw you was the day you got married. John and I got married the day before. People don't know that apparently Ohio is the spot for Michigan people to get married, which is weird since there's supposed to be this rivalry, and I guess we just don't mind when it comes to marriage. But in Michigan, you need like 48 hours of witness. Like, you gotta have all this paperwork and stuff. And in Ohio, they asked us when we went there, are we drunk or cousins? And we were good to go. So it turned out great. And our anniversaries are a day apart. So I want to start off with, you talked about like your height, your weight. I'm assuming that's because that's some information you provide because you wrestle, correct?
I do wrestle, yes.
So what is it called? Is it like amateur, pro? I don't know the wrestling. But real quick, I wore this because we were having a conversation today. This is New Day.
Uh-huh.
I know very little, but I do enjoy New Day.
Wrestling. Yeah, so I am a professional wrestler. Professional wrestling is the stuff you see on WWE and TV and all that. And I do a more localized version of that. The crowds aren't nearly as big, but they are pretty active. I've gone into 3 fights so far with crowd members, so that's fun.
Like, it was planned or?
No. Nah. This was because there's an unspoken rule, and where we take advantage of the self-defense rule, which is if you touch me, I now have the right to defend myself. And so we can yell at each other back and forth all you want. As soon as you touch me, it's now on. And the line's only been crossed twice. The third time was when me and my tag partner was called the N-word, and that was fun.
So what you're saying though is that they started the fight not verbally, so they called you the N-word and then put their hands on you, or y'all was like, fuck that, y'all.
How recently was that? To my recollection of the event, they called us the N-word, and I believe some saliva came off of their mouths and got onto our bodies. I'm trying to come up with some kind of, I don't know if that's actually what happened, but I'm trying not to incriminate myself.
Yeah. But so generally though, when you're getting in fights, this motherfucker's jumping into the ring?
Have we had someone jump into the ring? No.
How are y'all getting in these fights?
Well, one was because we was beating up a wrestler and his mom was there, and so we didn't actually fight her, but it was funny to see her run across and almost get near us and get snatched up by security.
So you
was grabbed with a clothesline because she was running like ah!
So you're fighting people who signed up to fight. The people who came to see the fight. I'm trying to figure out how to say this because it irritates y'all when I say it. My interpretation of wrestling is that it's a lot of performance. And I don't know if I'm asking questions I shouldn't ask, but like for real hitting each other, or is it like a half and half? Like, is it real?
It is, yes. So my back hurts, my knees hurt, and my shoulder hurts, and I have probably some kind of mental loss, and largely due to not mental loss, but like issues. If you will. There's like a lag on my brain sometimes, and it's all due to the very real thing that happens in wrestling. It's very well trained improv stunt work.
So you could go to Hollywood and be a stuntman?
Essentially, yes. And a lot of professional wrestlers actually do.
I didn't know.
A lot of professional wrestlers that leave end up either in Hollywood as stuntmen. There's a number of them that end in like B-list kung fu movies or something like that. Yeah.
So, given all of the injuries, why do you do it?
It's fun. It's a release. It's something that it's like a social club for me. It's kind of like the thing that it's my thing that I enjoy doing. At one point, it was all that I had before I got married, and kind of like my only reason to live. But then as I got married, it just became this continuous thing where I'm around like-minded individuals, and it's not as, I don't know if you remember the Columbus poetry scene, all that in depth, but not as cliquey as that was back when we was in it. And it's like really as closed-minded as you think wrestling fans might be based on stereotypes, it's a very open-minded and very open community.
See that? I think you are right on, because that is my thought. I make assumptions that wrestlers would be. See, you're right. I should have had my drinks right by me. I'm gonna have to like call John. I tried to fill up, but by the end of this, I'll probably be drunk. But I assume wrestlers would be homophobic, sexist, probably racist. Like, I'm, being honest, that I think is the stereotype.
You gotta be 20% gay to at least begin to start wrestling.
Oh, okay, tell me more about that, because you know what? It was a thought I had, but I didn't want to piss you off. Tell me about that.
I mean, you're rolling around with half-naked men in their underwear.
Yes.
Like, you have to be comfortable with with a male body like that. If you're not comfortable with that, you can't get in wrestling. And wrestlers really don't care, as long as the main rule is you take care of the other person that's in there with you, and you are well trained and take care of yourself. Outside of that, gay, straight, trans, whatever. The woman's title of a major company right now is a post-op trans individual.
That's interesting. So I'm not going to ask you why do you think that stereotype persists, but more, why do you think it, I guess that is my question. If that's the reality and really what's going on, and I'm assuming you're saying that's what it's been like for a long time, that it's always been, why is that stereotype still around? I cannot
it's because, if I were to theorize, it's because of the stereotype of the fan of wrestling, which is like NASCAR-esque. Just because it's that loud, rambunctious, quote unquote, white crowd. And from the outside looking in, that's all you see is like these hillbilly fight fans. They're all coming to shows, all look like Trump supporters. But when you actually like sit down and talk with them, they're very open-minded individuals. Like that's just the fans and the wrestlers. Like the entire community is just one big melting pot.
So I want to put a pin on that, because I want to ask one more question before this, but I really want to dig into what you're saying. The question I asked before is, how did you get into wrestling?
Put my liquor up.
Oh no! I really want this to do speaker view, and it's not working with me today. Not that.
So I got into it. I have a friend of mine. He goes by the name of Baracus. And we met up in college when I spent like a year and a half at Central State, and kind of met through, I don't want to put people's business, say that we met through other mutual friends. Found out that he was really into wrestling. He found out that I was really into wrestling. We just became like casual Facebook friends, and then I left Central State over some BS, and he stayed there and graduated, and he found a promotion in Middletown, and as soon as he got there, called me and said, "Hey, bro, this is what's happening." I was like, nah, because I had other things going on. I had a life. Second time he called me, because he had just, quote-unquote, graduated or got cleared to actually perform. Again, I had a life. The third time he called me, I didn't have a life. I went down. It was $1,000 to get signed. I could pay that in part. Cut my teeth there. Went on to James Avery and Ohio Pro Wrestling Academy, which you can Google for anyone that's actually like watching Facebook and Google. That's a very prominent school in Newark, Ohio, and got cleared there. And it's been that way ever since.
So what's your wrestling name?
Tanu the Savage.
And you're on Instagram? You wanna
Yes, I am on Instagram, I am on Facebook, I am on Twitter, I'm Googleable. It's always fun to tell people that. If you type in Tanu Wrestling or Tanu Savage, I'm the top 5 results.
T-A-N-U, right?
T-A-N-U.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember. I know. Mm-hmm.
And I'm YouTubeable.
So I do. So I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier about the stereotypes of wrestlers and having to be about 20% gay to wrestle. I will say that's always been my thought. I remember watching a long time ago. What is the name of this documentary by? His last name is Katz, and he showed a wrestling match and he added some really beautiful music to it. And I was like, this is heartwarming, but also, am I the only one who noticed that? But talking about acceptance, do you think that wrestling is a place that marginalized people go towards, knowing that they'll be accepted? Or how do I find out if I am, an other of any type, that I'll be accepted?
You just gotta pay your dues. It's not one of those things. It's not like other things where because you're gay, you get a free pass, or because you're the exception that you get highlighted in place of like the male cheerleader who can't do a herky or anything like that as good as the females, but because of the fact that he's the only male, and he gets put into the final rounds of competition and stuff like that. You have to prove that you are able to do the basics that everyone else is, and once you do that, cool. We don't care what your background is, as long as there's nothing illegal. Let's have fun.
And that's interesting because wrestling is seen as like uber masculine, right? Like it makes me think of Roman times and half naked, greased up men wrestling, and then there's a lion and shit. And yes, I'm literally recording right now.
Hi, John.
Hey, what's going on?
What up, bro?
I cannot stop.
Oh my God, I just need to show you.
Are you dancing naked right now?
Just show me later.
Sure, yeah.
Show you what?
I don't know, but he really wants to show me right now in the middle of this.
I'm sorry, damn.
I mean, as long as it's safe, you can show it.
Because now,
and if it's not safe, show it behind camera.
Not yet.
Close the damn door. Anyway, I'm sorry. I specifically asked him to stay in the other room. He's supposed to be making dinner. Close the door.
That sounded really humanist.
Anyway, we're talking about diversity.
Barefoot in the kitchen?
He's got on shoes. How shoes?
You allow him to wear shoes in the kitchen.
Yes, you gotta stay looking cute while you're cooking dinner. Damn it! Now I don't remember what I was saying. I was pontificating.
You were talking about
masculinity. That's the point. Is I wanted to talk about masculinity. I think so. First of all, I'm not sure if you're aware. I hate men. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. We're all on the same page. I dislike men. So I don't really have a lot of guys that I still interact with, still friends with, other than like the ones I'm related to or chose to like live in this house with. You are one of the few that I still talk to and have not just completely thrown away. So I would
thank you for being patient with me.
And you know what? But we'd have known each other a long time. We really did not get along for like the first part of our friendship, which is a strange friendship.
Not at all.
When it's like, really, we don't get along at all. But you've also taught me some patience as well. But I want to use this opportunity now that I have like some masculine energy on the show, because more than likely it will be very few dudes here, to talk about masculinity, to talk about, being a Black man, to talk about being a Black partner, a Black father, all of that. I know that wasn't a question, but that was a segue because we're talking about wrestling, and I think you have an interesting perspective on masculinity because you don't have the same perspective as most Hoteps. You know what a Hotep is, right?
Yeah.
And for the folks at home, the 3 people who don't know, it's like, I don't know how to describe a Hotep. If you don't know what a Hotep is, I don't know how to describe it.
Dr. Umar Johnson.
Yeah, but if you were talking to someone who had no reference to like any of it,
if they sound like a Muslim but they aren't actually one.
It makes me think of the Black alt-right, like the not alt-right, but
no, because they're at least organized.
What's the word for the dudes who incels, like black incels, except they have sex?
A Hotep is like a black you know the stereotypical white frat boy in like college movies? A Hotep is like a black version of that.
Except he's uplifting the community through what he's doing. Like he's not focused on partying. He really thinks he's like saving the black community.
Well, okay, so he's the good frat boy.
Right.
And yeah, so
to some extent. He still may be raping and drugging, but he also feels like
he's doing right.
Yes. So yeah, my point is you have a different perspective of that. So I should have had a question prepared after all the words that I said, but I don't. I just want to talk about it. So let's just, I don't know, what you thinking?
I don't know.
What's your opinion on toxic masculinity? Do you think that is a real thing? Let's start with that while I pick up the second.
I think toxicity is real. I don't think it's exclusive to masculinity. I think that kind of hinders the conversation.
Interesting.
And so it's more so, it's like gender toxicity. Because, and I kind of had to listen to all the music to kind of get it. But for every Party Next Door and The Weeknd and Drake, there's Kalani, there's Janae Aiko, there's I'm trying to think of a rapper.
Well, what would you consider to be a tenet or a piece of toxic femininity then? Like what's an example of that?
Wasn't expecting to go this deep.
I'm sorry. We all
fine. And so that's kind of where it's weird because there's not one thing that makes either side toxic for real. Masculine is a little bit easier because there's also you have misogyny and chauvinistic characteristics that kind of filter into that. As far as toxic femininity, you have the
this is why I challenge toxic femininity, because I've either heard people not be able to come up with an example or their example is actually a part of toxic masculinity.
So it is kind of like a part of toxic masculinity, but it's the inverse of it. So toxic masculinity, and I'm going to speak strictly from like relationship standards, is where masculinity and toxic masculinity in a relationship is kind of like where you're not taking ownership of the negativity that you're bringing into it and placing a large part of the blame onto the woman.
That's one way.
That's the part. I mean, that's part of it. I'm not saying that my definition is like the pure way. I'm trying to quickly come up with this because my mind was on everything else, but I should have known that we would get here.
You know I ain't shit.
And so toxic femininity would kind of be the same thing of not accepting the female not accepting any of her parts of how the relationship failed, or where she may have manipulated the man, where she may have played the man, and just putting the blame all on him. That would be one example of it.
And let me say real quick before we get any deeper. If you're watching this and you really disagree, please do not come from my friend in like a disrespectful way. No, because I don't want, what I'm saying is I enjoy having these conversations. I think for me, as someone who openly hates men and avoids interacting with them, I don't always get a chance to do this. And I know I have a couple of friends who also hate men who also don't get a chance to do this. You ain't got to agree. I'm not saying I agree either. I'm saying taking the perspective from a person who at least I know you give a shit. Like, oh, see, I'm drinking 1738. Hey, what's up? Hello. But yeah, I'm not saying y'all can have a discussion. I'm just saying don't be disrespectful. That's all I'm saying. Because I know, not using my friends, but I know people can, get real disrespectful in the comments. But anywho, I do disagree. Only because I feel like most of the time when we're talking about toxic femininity, it's just a replication of masculinity, and the reason it exists is because of toxic masculinity. Because of men being the people in power, they set the tone. And so I have two options. I can either play the game or I can sit out. And most people don't want to sit out. It's hard sitting out. But if you play the game, that means I have to reiterate the same shit that these men are saying. And if they're saying, the long list of things men are gay, I got a whole group on Facebook called Please Add This to the Collection of Things Cis Hetero Men Think Are Gay. Like, or, Amazon Prime apparently is gay. Loving Your Out is gay. Yes. Ordering dessert and or appetizers is gay. And some of those have come from women.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I know they come from women. And so the opposite of a hotep is a pick me.
A what?
Me, pick me's, right?
Okay. I didn't hear what you said. You said pick me. Okay.
Yeah, like raise my hand, please pick me. It's a performance. And that I would say would be considered toxic femininity, but even the name tells you the whole point. The whole point is I want to be on the team. I want what everyone told me I'm supposed to have, which is a big, strong man who is super manly, and I want to be part of the winning team, the team in power. Please pick me. That's my thought. But even given that, though, I've had conversations with people who believe that gender just exists. Like all the things that you experience and the things you feel, the things you do, the things you like as a man are natural and not taught. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think men are socialized to be the way they are and like the things they like, or do you think it really is innate from DNA and hormones?
It's a little bit of both. There is a physical difference and chemical difference between the two on average. On average, there are outliers, but on average, if you break down both, if you took a vial of my blood and a vial of yours, and a vial of my wife's, and a vial of John's, the differences between the male and the female are going to be different. The body, if we took examine the bone density and all that stuff, there's some of the things that are natural. And so with that and how society views the natural, see, I pre-gamed for this, so I feel like I'm rambling now.
Oh, that's the point. I like the, it's liquid, not liquid courage, liquid honesty.
No, because I can still be honest. Like I don't care. Part of it is natural. The chemical levels and the way those chemicals impact us to cause us to view things is natural. And part of it is nurture. Is because we saw other men behaving this way. We saw other women behaving this way. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay. This is one of my favorite times. I'm sorry to spring this on you. It's just, again, I talked to John about this, and then I
ready
about it. Because I feel like it's all socialized. I do hear what you're saying, though, about there's some things you're built for, but I think about the emotional repression. Like, do you think that's natural? Do you think that's social?
No, that's social.
Okay.
So that's social. Now, the emotional reaction to things is a little bit more natural, just because the way our chemicals fire off in most situations, even from birth. Male child and a female child, after a certain point, regardless of who they're raised by, respond differently. Not like unchangeably different. And once again, on average, my child is cool. And my child is also can be a hothead. So she falls on both spectrums. But just on average, male child, either raised by a man or raised by a woman, they learn differently. And they also react differently. They're a little bit more aggressive. Where they're raised, the household that they're raised in, on average. Female child is a lot more calmer in them being raised. Regardless of who is raising them, how they're being raised, where they're being raised at, on average. So I forgot the original question because, again, I'm a little buzzed and rambling.
Me too. It's cool. I don't remember it either. Hopefully anybody who's watching this does. I guess I still think like everyone raises a child based on gender. So, for instance, you have a daughter. If you have a son, would you interact with your son the way you interact with your daughter, same age?
The only difference is, and the only way I'm thinking this is because I don't have a son, I might be more prone to physically discipline my son, but that's a very heavy might. My daughter is pretty much the child that I wanted, and so how I'm raising her is how I would raise her, even if she was a he. Like,
do you think there's just some like it makes me think of unconscious bias? It's just unconscious things that we do, in addition to the things that we can't control. So I think about when you have a baby and you tell people the gender of the baby, the words, the language they use when they talk to or about the baby is different, and how they interact. So I can only control what I do with my child at home. But once they go out into the world, they go to grandma's house, they go wherever, and everyone's like, oh, such a strong boy. Give him this, give him that. Take these toys away. You can't play with dolls. You're a little boy. Like, I do think that you can't get out of the socialization that happens unless you raise your child in a vacuum.
You can't get out of it, but how you interact with your child determines how much the outside world can impact your child. So if you're kind of hands off, then yes, the way the world views things is going to impact your child a whole lot more. However, the more that you're actually present and not just trying to figure out the right word for it. It's usually don't treat your child like a child. Treat your child like a younger adult, if you will. And this is not I'm not wording right, but essentially don't baby them. You don't have to be upfront real with them, but also don't baby them. There's no such thing as too young for them to know or realize things that are going on in their lives. And if you're putting certain things into their mind, it doesn't really matter what the outside world is.
But that's a very radical way to raise a child. Like that's some millennial shit. I feel like that will be the sentiment. That's some millennial shit to raise a child that way, and that our parents' generation wouldn't do that.
In general, yeah, my parents. I mean, I played with my sisters only because like I thought that the concept of it was cool. But like the little tumbling dolls, and all, we played with that, and they had our superhero action figures, kicking it with Barbie. So, but in general, I can agree with that. Yeah.
So, you talked about being present in, your child's life. This is such a deep ass question. Why do you think we're gonna talk about Black men specifically? Why do you think we have such a loss of Black men in the families, like abandoning their children and not take care of their kids?
Yeah.
Or do you think do you think it's overblown that we don't have a larger issue than other communities?
I think it's overblown. I think there's multiple factors. I think that it's a minority thing as a whole, due to the prison system. And I'm going to get very unintentionally wokish about all of this. But there is issues with the prison system. Slavery does play a role, and if y'all, whoever's watching, doesn't understand any of these references, I really don't want to go down this rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. Google prison industrial complex.
Yeah, there's like a Hotep that will give you like a 3-part YouTube series.
You can listen to the Hoteps on this. This is why Hoteps are hard to really grasp outside of the Black community, because there's things that we be like, yes, listen to this Hotep, and there's other things like, don't listen to that damn Hotep. It just depends on the topic. That's why.
Listen to them for the facts. Just don't listen to their opinions about the facts. But
you have to verify that the facts they said are actually facts. But yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that we're. I have a bias. I'll present my bias. Mm-hmm. My bias is that even though my parents were divorced, I have always grown up around men. Mm-hmm. My father was not in my house, but my father was very much present. And my mom, even because my father was not physically there, made sure that there was other men, both in and outside of my family, that were playing a role in my life. So it's hard for me to kind of really see that, because I, as a Black man, have been in a lot of kids' lives, and I, as a Black child, have had a lot of men in my life.
You work with kids now, right?
Not anymore.
Okay.
They didn't pay me because I didn't go to college. I didn't finish college. So it's hard for me to see it as this big global phenomenon that the Tyler Perry followers and others try to make it out to be. And I know that that's a fault of my own, because I know that there is some truth behind it. It's harder for me to kind of fully accept it.
It's been argued. Some people said same thing with like the Black on Black crime, that it's not more prominent than in other, communities. But as you stated, there's some reasons. Do you think Black men have any ownness in this though? Because I'm not disagreeing with you about the prison, about slavery, even about the setup of welfare and Section 8, all impacted removing fathers from the home. But at this point, do you think there's any personal responsibility that Black men have? And if so, how much of it? Like 5%, 100%, 22%?
Yeah, well, if you choose not to play a role in your child's life, it is 100% your fault, because you are making that choice. Put down a bias. I believe everything in life is a choice. And
do you mean like that book, The Secret, that Oprah had everybody reading?
not really that in depth. However, if you think about making this choice, that's your thought. You went down this process, and whatever the reason behind that choice is, that's still your choice. So if you leave the household because of Section 8, whatever, you're still choosing to leave the household. So if you're making the choice,
what other choice do you have?
No, you can work hard.
So here's, yeah.
And I hate to be that person. Like, no. I hate to
No,
be that
we are
person.
opposite ends of where we usually would be. So go ahead.
I hate to be that person that's like, you can go out there and make it. Like, no. It's substantially harder for certain people, myself included. However, it's your choice to put in that work to make it happen. It's your choice to make these things work for you or not. My wife, for example, is a small business owner. Mm-hmm. It's hard across the board, regardless of race, to be a small business entrepreneur.
Real quick, one, she's going to be on the show in the near future. Two, could you shout out her business so everyone, if they check it out?
Yobeclectic.com is the website. Another little hit. No, that's not it no more. Hey. Okay, she won't send it to me, so I'm going to read it off because it's a lot. But she does. So she made this shirt, and she does a lot of apparel. She's in the process of her own
it's breaking up a little.
Just me. I hope I didn't lose you.
No, I'm still here, but it's breaking up a little. Oh, shit. I don't know what to do if it drops. I'm going to have to sit here and be entertaining. Oh. Come back. Oh, gosh. Kind of. I could kind of hear you. I can see.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, can you hear me?
Kind of. Almost.
Okay, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
That's up. We're back?
Yes, we're back.
We're back? Okay. Okay. So, yeah, everything is on the Yobeclectic.com. She does screen printing on pretty much anything that you could think of. She's done cups. She's done shirts, bags, makeup bags. She's done a whole rolling kit for those who are herbalists. She's done water bottles. If you're having family trips, she can do the entire family, multiple shirts. She does everything.
Black-owned business, women-owned business, business if you live in Ohio. So just want to give that shout out. But
super proud of her. So
now I don't remember what the hell we was talking about.
So we was talking about how you have choice. And because, I think I just want to take an opportunity to shout out my wife, but she chooses to put in the research to find the best products available for her customers and also for herself to make it as smooth as possible. Others who do similar things to what she does that want the easy way out. They're choosing not to put in that research. For whatever reason, because of time or whatever, they're choosing not to do that work. They may have a good reason as to why they don't, but it's still, at the end of the day, their choice. The opportunity is here. You may have to work a little bit harder to get to it, but the opportunity is still there for you. So if you're choosing to leave the home so that your wife or your baby mama can be on Section 8, that's the choice that you're choosing to make. Whatever the reason is, it could be a great reason. I'm not faulting you for making that reason.
Yeah, no, I follow you because you also make that choice afterwards how connected you stay to your family.
Exactly.
Because you don't have to leave and never come, and never talk to me. And you also don't have to leave and not work on getting into a better situation so they don't have to live in Section
8. Exactly. If you make some choices that ends up in you going to jail, because the likelihood of you as a black individual going to jail is higher. You're choosing to take that risk. Cool. I'm not going to fault anyone outside of those who kill for going to jail. However, I know people who go to jail and they absolutely do not talk to their family, once again, by choice.
Okay.
And then
Right.
I know multiple men who have gone to jail or currently are in jail who call their son every day, who can make their son cry over the phone because of their grades. Because their grades weren't what he expected of them.
Which means they still maintain a relationship where his opinion matters. I see what you're saying, because at first I was like, well, you can fucking step outside and the police can just arrest you for any fucking thing. But you're right. What you do in prison is up to you.
Mm-hmm. If I go to jail because I'm a black man and I am driving, it's my choice whether or not I stay in contact with my family. It's my choice whether or not I stay up to date with what's going on. And that's going to require some work because I'm not physically there. Or I can choose not to.
I like the perspective, because usually I'm not the person who's like, yeah, but sometimes black men, but these are all points. The flip side of that, because I'm gonna bring up the argument we sometimes hear, is that women make choices that create the situation where the men are not at home, or the situation where they're able to maintain a relationship with their children. And do you think, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but there are women who maybe will use their child, because they're angry. But do you really think that is the crux, the real issue about fathers not having relationships with their children?
I think it plays a role too. I have family members and personal friends who have never seen their kid, strictly on the mom's desire and word.
You don't think there's choices that the man made that created that situation?
Oh yeah, because 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, if they're crazy before you sleep with them. So you're choosing to take this risk, and you're choosing to go at this, and also you're choosing to not do the footwork that is required for you to have legal leverage.
And that's usually my thing. Like, well, did you do anything about it other than be upset?
Exactly.
Sometimes I feel like women are legitimate and they're like, I'm not letting you see your child because you're not paying any money into this. Or the thing I hear the most is you're inconsistent. So thinking about the child, what good does it have to have a father who pops up every year and a half for a hot minute and then disappears again? The trauma that is to the child than to just be like, daddy don't exist.
True. But then, because like I said, I have family who the mother of their child tried that. But you record every phone call, screenshot every text message, put money aside before she went to the courts, because he knew that she was going to go to the courts. So he had that money ready for her if she tried anything. Had everything on set, and no matter what she tried, he had an answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew, I think maybe 4 months in, okay, this is not going to go the ideal way. And so now he has majority custody. And there's some other messiness behind there, but he put in that work. He chose to work and fight for that child. Whatever they went on between him and her, that's cool. He's still going to be in that child's life.
I'm looking at the time because I realized that an hour.
Oh, yeah, we could talk.
Yeah, it's a long ass time. But I got one more thing I want to talk about before we end. You made me think of it because you talked about, bitch crazy before you slept with her, so why are you surprised? I want to talk about mental health. I know everything would have talked about it deep as hell, but I want to talk about that because to me, in the forefront of my mind, the one thing I wish that Black men would do over everything is take care of their mental health, is to talk to someone who is not their partner, they barber or they boy, and take care of their mental health. I think we're beyond the conversation of it's okay for men to cry. Like, I'm like, it's okay for men to go to therapy. And I know you've been very open about the fact that you are very pro, taking care of your mental health and going to therapy. Was that how you always felt, or was there something that got you to that point? And if you don't mind sharing what it was.
It was thankfully my wife. And it's not a stereotype that I wasn't going to therapy. I've always had a thing against hospitals due to personal reactions, and then I'm big on how things are worded, and so I don't feel comfortable about putting my life in the hands of someone who's practicing. And so if you're a doctor, why is it a practice?
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but it's just I never really considered that. Go ahead.
It always made me uncomfortable. Like, why is it a practice? Why is it a profession? I don't practice being a teacher. I'm a teacher. I don't practice being like, that's not, so why is this thing your practice? Anyway, but yeah, before she was my wife and she was my fiance, the way that I normally handled things, which was okay, not okay, but like it didn't impact anyone because I could hide. I didn't have that luxury because I had someone in my life that was around. And so she was able to recognize these things as someone who has gone through it herself to a degree. She could tell her own testimony. She could pinpoint it and be like, okay, you need to talk to someone. And you can't keep talking to me because I'm not the person you need to be talking to. You need to talk to someone. And so I did the same. And it was like the third or fourth time she kept saying it to me. And I finally built up the courage because it's free with insurance. By the way, anyone that's watching, more than likely, if you have Obamacare to a 401k publicly traded company, mental health of some capacity is going to be free with your insurance. Use it. Use it. Especially Black men. Anyway, so it was free with my insurance, and I had Obamacare. Try using Obamacare for it, or try using my PCP through Obamacare. They told me I need a sun lamp to make me feel good.
Depression?
No. So seasonal is a part of it, but my depression is yearly. So it heightens during the winter season. However, it's yearly, and they were trying to tell me, oh, no, you just need something. I'm like, and I was deep in it. Like, I'm like, look, I don't want to kill myself, but I want to cause harm to myself and others. Help me. Oh, no, you need a sun lamp. Here, it's on Amazon for $40. You can get it tomorrow. Like, no.
Do you think their response had anything to do with the fact that you were a Black man coming to them?
I think it was because it was, and it's not, Affordable Care Act insurance. I had Medicare. It was free for me. And so because I got that level, sometimes they was trying to help me. Sometimes it was just get in, get out because they had so many people. And so I actually had to, once again, put in the work, call the my carrier, and get the ball rolling for myself. And so I called my insurance. They got me over to this gentleman who I forgot his last name, but first name's Terrence. And he dealt with me up until I was actually able to coexist with my wife in the house for more than a week at a time. And then I've kind of been taking some of those tools. I am on Prozac. And that he kind of helped me realize that that's not a hindrance, but used with the proper tools, it is a crutch. It is something to kind of help you proceed forward. And it's just been a wonderful experience. I had to leave him because my insurance changed and they didn't cover him no more. But when I went to someone else, Matt Morgan, I believe is his name, and picked up the ball right from there.
Are the people you see, are they, well, sounds like they're both men, but are they black men or are you seeing white men?
First was black, second was a white man. I have tried all kinds. So I didn't like when I was deep in it, I didn't care who. I just needed to talk to somebody. So I didn't specify. It just ended up that with the time that I had available would end up being a black man. And then once I had to leave him, I tried a black woman. She didn't accept she had this weird thing about how the insurance was going to be. No, that wasn't her. She wasn't available. Tried a white woman. She was on the way out, so she wasn't really trying to help me, and ended up with this white guy.
Mm.
I'm not looking for a particular person. I just happen to end up with these people.
But I really want to highlight something you said, is that you can't just expect that the first person you reach out to is A, going to take your insurance and be ready to go, and B, that they're going to be the right fit. Because sometimes you might have someone and you're like, this ain't it. That doesn't mean that therapy is not going to work for you. It means that's the right person. That's like dating one person to be like, relationships don't work for me. But I do want to ask you a couple questions. I'm still looking at this time because I know it's long as hell. Why do you think Black men do not go to therapy?
It's the same reason why Black men don't go to the doctor. This is where stereotypes kind of play a role. It is a sign of weakness. It's socially acceptable for a Black man to, externally it is, and peer pressure wise, it is viewed as a sign of weakness, and then internally, you feel weaker when you know what your problem is. Almost. Like, if that's just how you are, then that's just how you are. But if you put a name on it and it's pointing out to you that this is not normal, then now you don't feel like a full person. Like, if I just walk, if I just walk with a limp and I just think I'm bow-legged, then cool. But if I go to the doctor and the doctor says, no, you have this thing that's wrong with your hip, then now I'm no longer normal. And the same thing mentally. Like, if he just is weird like that, then cool. But if no, he's depressed, he has anxiety, he's bipolar, then it can be viewed as I am less than.
I appreciate that explanation because I hadn't thought of that, and it makes a lot of sense. So if that's the reality, which I feel like that's a good portion of it. Of course, there's other barriers around insurance and finding someone, and I notice is that in Black communities and low income communities also, the only way you can access mental health assistance is if you are addicted to something, or if you are suicidal, like you are ready to go. Like, otherwise you can't do that type of preventative care where you feel like something's not right, I should talk to someone. You can't do that. But if we know that this is, all of those pieces are involved, what would you say to encourage Black men to seek therapy outside of just, the people in their lives, but like professional help?
So the first thing is those two, they're big ticks as to why you should, but if you're just feeling like off, and you have an off day, but your off day ends up being like an off week or off month, again, it doesn't cost anything to go don't need to be on the extreme spectrum to go before you get to that point. Because what you don't realize is while you think that you're dealing with this yourself, you're impacting other people and you're hurting other people. That's like the biggest thing, really. If there's anything I can say, is like, go there. Even if you don't have insurance, there, again, I can speak for Columbus. I'm not sure everywhere else. I'm positive or 95% sure that there is something available that's free. Columbus, I know for a fact there's like 2 or 3 free resources to have where you can actually sit down and talk to someone. And if you have some form of insurance, then there's telehealth that is available. There's some kind of like phone a doctor that is available for you.
Mm-hmm.
Go. Because mental health is like the biggest killer beyond everything else. If you feel physically good, but your brain feels sick, you can pass away a lot earlier than if someone who is physically unfit, but their brain is well.
And I want to point out one last thing, because we're about to wrap up. It's been a whole hour. But I really appreciate everything you're saying, because to me, this is the top of the list. I think if Black men were able to get over that hurdle, that would resolve a lot of the issues we have, in our families and communities. But people talk about the suicide rate for Black people being low, but it's because the way we do it is not the traditional way. We don't kill ourselves by taking pills or shooting ourselves in the head, stepping into traffic even. We continue to live our lives like they don't matter. That's it. In addition to that, we have other people who treat us like our lives don't matter. And so it's very easy to die at an early age. And because of the way that we do it, people don't talk about the situations that created the point where I am in the street shooting somebody and they shooting me back. We don't talk about that. We talk about gangbangers and bad decisions. And yes, it's a bad decision, except from the perspective of, I don't care about my life. I want to die anyway.
That was the kicker for me to realize that I need to see to someone, because I was suicidal younger, but when I decided to talk to someone, it wasn't the fact that I was suicidal, it was that I was okay with dying. So I don't want to kill myself. However, if my car were to go off the road, cool. If someone were to come into this bank right now and I'm the first person they shoot in order to set an example, okay. That's not a healthy way to view it. And so if you are a gangbanger and instead of thinking preserving your life in order to prolong your set, you're completely okay going to a rival hood by yourself because you don't care if you pass, that's not a healthy way to live. Mm-hmm. Gang mentality is not that wrong. I mean, it's nothing different being a soldier in the military. Oh. However, the way in which you gangbang can also be a sign of your mental health.
I think we're going to end it there, because you done spoke a whole word, and it is, John almost done cooking. It's been an hour. Brandon, I appreciate you. I'm going to end this here, and then we're going to have our little goodbyes and shit. But thank you for watching Interviews You Didn't Ask For, episode number 2. And good night.